Welcome to the football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. It is Monday. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus here with me to talk football. Thank you very much to each and every one of you. Our subscription figures continue to go up week by week, and of course the figures of people watching and of course listening to our podcast. We want to thank you all for showing your interest and your support. We really do appreciate it. And if you get a bit of time on your hands, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll get all the notifications of our unique content that we're posting on a regular basis, and of course keeping you right up to date with what happens over the weekend's football and midweek European football as well. So lots of big things coming up in PLZ Soccer, lots to talk about today. Let's get into the meat and bones of it, because referees at the forefront of it all. Hibs 2, Rangers 2. It was a late equaliser, but there was more than a few contentious moments in it, so we're going to offer the opinion. Some might like, some might not. Ruffy, let's start with Lundstrom. Rangers are going to appeal the red card. Should it have been a red?
Well, again, I wish, as I said earlier, Willie Collum, I'd love to know how he thought the two tackles were different. The way I looked at it as the Hibs tackle was on the ground, Lundstrom's tackle was off the ground, and it hit him quite high up. I think that's the only difference. I think that both of them are similar, but the way it is, the rules are just now, it's a yellow card.
Yeah.
You know, that's where the rules are. I mean, I really don't get this, it's one for the team. You know, I don't think they should get away with that. You know, it's in their own half. It's not as if they're attacking in the other team's area. So, it's just me, I would change the rule. I'd say 2 red cards. I think it's just cheating. So
you think if there's no attempt to play the ball, just to play the man for a professional foul, it should be a red?
Yeah.
But you think in this case...
In this case, the way the rules are, it's 2 yellows.
Okay, Ali?
I think it's a yellow. I think it's cynical. I agree with you. I think it's a cynical challenge, but I think we see it often. It's not anything that we've not seen before. I think professional foul is the way you would describe it. I think it's a yellow card for me.
Yellow card for me.
Yeah.
The rules.
Yeah, I thought it was a yellow card. And again, if anything, if you look at the way the Newcastle United Man City game, Kieran Trippier thought he was off, and then there was, a quick look at it again. I do agree with you on the basis. I think a lot of people should start to look at the rules on that professional foul that suddenly takes them out. I mean, even Kieran Trippier said, I had to take him out. He was going to race away. So if you're willing to actually stop somebody trying to go through the gears to try and get the team the victory, and you're going to be cynical about it, then you've got to look at it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if we move on to another game and say the boy at Ross County had to take him out.
It's a slightly different angle and a great argument. We're going to get to that. I mean, over the piece. Did Willie Collum? I mean, Rangers again. Today Rangers have voiced their concerns to the SFA about Willie Collum. What does that mean?
It means a couple of decisions went against them, to be honest. It seems to be that when things go against Rangers, there's a statement or somebody comes out with something. I think that the 2 penalty kicks, I think if Willie's going to give one of them, he's going to give both of them. In my opinion, none of them are penalties. But if you're going to give penalties for grappling in the box and small tugs, you're going to have 4 or 5 a game with VAR. But you can't give that one and not give the Hibs one. So I think he got both of them wrong, to be honest. And what else was there?
Well, I mean, the penalty itself, I was amazed when I was watching it because I thought it was soft. But if he was in a goal-scoring position, which there was nobody around him, Ali, I thought if you think it's a penalty, he's surely got to get sent off as well.
That was my first thought, actually, for that, exactly the same logic. I thought it was stupid in the first place. I thought you can see the ball, there's no danger, the ball's going back towards David Marshall. So I thought it was a moment of stupidity, but I didn't think it was a penalty. I agree with Tam. I think both calls, none of them were penalties for me. But like you, I think if you're going to give it and you're applying the letter of the law, then it's a dismissal too. So I think that was wrong. I think it would have been really interesting in the aftermath of the game to hear from Willie Collum. It would be really interesting to hear the referee's perspective.
How he interpreted it.
And not necessarily a justification, because he'll feel as though he's at his work, he's done the best shift that he can. But I think it would be interesting to hear his reasoning behind the decisions that were made at the time.
Yeah.
See, you're having a go, Willie Collum, for the 2 tackles. It wasn't Willie Collum that tackled the players. It was the two players you should be looking at. You know, if you want to really go into depth, it's too easy to blame the referee. If the two players hadn't made these challenges, then Willie Collum wouldn't have had a decision to make.
Yeah, Alfredo Morelos is a stupid one, Ruffy. I mean, I really do think
you can see he tried one wee bit and then he went, I'll try it again. It was just stupidity.
Yeah, this is what Giovanni Van Bronckhorst had to say after the game on Saturday. The two red cards cost us 2 points. Of course, the disappointment is here. The speed of the tackle wasn't with a lot of force. The ref could have given a yellow as well. If you compare it with the challenge we conceded in the first half, then we had to react with 10 men, but the red card for Morelos made it worse, and we had to play with 9. We're going to analyse the game and see what's the smartest thing to do, but we will be sure to look into the red cards. Now, that's what he said after the game, and they are appealing it. As far as the decisions, how did the Hibs boss see it? Here's Lee Johnson.
At the same time, I didn't think it was a penalty, and I thought Bashiri should have had a penalty. I think if there's VAR, the penalty is 50-50. I think Bashiri is probably 85-15, the one he got dragged down in the first half. So, look, we are where we are with that. I'm not digging out anybody in particular. I'm just saying there's a lot of incidents, but we created that by our pressure in the second half.
You'd be hard pressed to wonder if there was any goals in the game, but there were. It was a good game to watch.
The second half is excellent. I think the first half was a poor game. Both teams neither created anything really. Second half, Hibs get the goal with Martindale, and he's just a talisman for Hibs at the minute. You know, he's scored two goals already against Hearts and Rangers, which will endear him massively to the Hibs supporters again. And he caused them problems at the back. And when Rangers went down to 9 men, I just thought the goal was going to come. Unfortunately, when they got the goal, there wasn't enough time, because I think Hibs would have won it. On our cut of 5 minutes, Hibs would have won the game. You know, Rangers were out on their feet. I think a draw was a fair result. I don't think Rangers played particularly well. I think Hibs were always in the game, and I was disappointed with Rangers defending, because what I've seen of Rangers so far this season, I think they're vulnerable at the back, and I think Hibs showed that again at the weekend. And they've got a big game coming up, obviously, against PSV, who've got more quality than Hibs, and I think they've got to defend far better to get through. Yeah,
if you're going to look at the positives when they had their full team on the park, I mean, are they firing in all cylinders? I thought the way they constructed the second goal was really good, Robbie. I mean, again, lovely bullet ball into the box for the header.
Yeah, it was a great build-up, but they've done that again. You know, that during the season they've had some really good goals with good build-up. But as Tam said, it's not consistent enough at the level that they want to be at, and the level that they want to be at the teams that they're playing. You know, it's not good enough just doing it once or twice in 90 minutes. You need to be more up for it, and that's where they might get found out. But it's certainly great to watch, and it was a fantastic second goal.
Yeah, the equaliser, it was almost as if you could see it coming. I mean, Rangers are 9 men, they're boxed in, they're trying to stop them, and it had to be something from the edge of the box. Yeah,
I think the 5-6 minutes leading up to the goal, I think Hibs were throwing everything at it, but I thought time seemed to stand still a little bit, like when the ball broke out to him and he just caught it. I think the minute it left his boot, you knew it was going in. I think even, you know, Lundstrom barely moves for it, he just watches it fly past him.
McLaughlin. Did you think he was poor, the keeper?
No, I think Goldson and whoever else was in front of him, sort of a Brian Jack, sort of a. If they hadn't ducked out the road, it would have hit them, obviously. But once they duck out the road, he's obviously won't be surprised.
Yeah, well, he was honest enough to admit it was a kind of a slice, but it hits the back of the net, and then mayhem ensues. Although I do think, Tam, that clubs are going to have to make a concerted effort to put through a programme on social media to their fans to say, listen, you know, you just need to behave yourself or we're going to be in trouble, because, you know, there are certain areas.
It's in the corner.
It's in the corner. It's a worry.
And that's where obviously I think the young team, I think they're Block 7, I think they're called, are in there, and there seems to be incidents every game now. You know, there's people throwing things onto the pitch. It's not acceptable, and Hibs need to go in there and police that more, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the messages we've had over the weekend, going to read them out. Just to comment on the red cards at the weekend, Gary Graham says both Rangers were red cards. Lunge from behind, which is deemed as a red card offence. This talk of a professional foul is laughable, says Gary. A foul's a foul, professional or not. Morelos is just idiotic, arms flying and kicking out, even by Morelos' standards, is just stupid. He says the Hearts ones are even more straightforward, as the boys were both on booking, so they're stupid. At best, the ref could have been a little more lenient, but silly challenges to make while you're booked. And thanks to Gary for that. Enjoys the show. And I like Alec McDonald, who regularly just sends us a message. He's from Edinburgh. He says, when was the last time a non-Glasgow official refereed a Hearts game against Celtic or Rangers in either Glasgow or Edinburgh? How many referees are there out with the Glasgow Referees Association? So clearly, as you can see, depending on where you live in the country, Ruffy, people feel, there's some sort of bias, conspiracy, call it what you will. But he's still, why did the SFA stop giving a referee's location in match details? What are they trying to hide? The current system and proliferation of officials from Glasgow is purely designed to help the two clubs from Glasgow.
You used to do that, and way back you used to say, and the referee today is Willie Collum from.
Yeah.
And then people start to get their windows.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was just about to say to you. And to be honest with you, he lives a wee bit too close for comfort for me. But nevertheless,
can't go into details if you gave the full address.
No, exactly. Kenny says, "Hi lads, nice one, Tam, taking the Dons to win and Hibs to draw. Although Morelos was the only red card that should have been handed out. He looks unfit, and what a liability he's been. The Dons played well and should have had 2 or 3. Leighton, Clarkson, maybe the signing of the season," says Kenneth. United must have the slowest centre-backs in the league. I like Charlie Mulgrew, but I think he's done. Sorry, Charlie. Time will tell, and perhaps Fletcher also may be past it. Not often Rangers are hard done by, but Saturday they were for sure. So there you are. Thanks very much to Kenneth for that. And also from Billy, who says, as it's Scottish football, I feel the need to presage this comment by stating that I think Hibs were well worthy of their point, which Tam mentioned, and that Rangers weren't good enough to win the game on Saturday. Having got out of the way, Jared Hillier's decision to rescind his red card for Kieran Trippier in Sunday's fantastic 3-3 draw between Newcastle and Man City is evidence enough that Willie Collum got it wrong with the Lundstrom decision. It happens. Maybe we'll agree on that. Well, absolutely. And John McLean says Collum is a disgrace. No argument on Morelos sending off, but Lundstrom for the same offence let the Hibs players away with a complete lack of consistency, as well as a lack of knowledge as to the laws of the game. I'm sure Willie Collum would say the opposite on that, but nevertheless, we are 15 minutes into the programme, Ruffy, and you can tell it's a hot topic on the decision, and thanks to countless people who are mentioning their thoughts on that decision.
Can I ask you something? See when that Lundstrom first made that tackle, what was your first thought? Do you think your red card or yellow card?
No, I thought it was yellow, but then I was wondering if Willie Collum deemed it a red because he looked at the level he'd hit his knee. That's why I thought
it was a red card straight away.
Oh,
I thought it was a red card because of the angle and how high he was. I shouted red card right away, and I think with Willie Collum's behind it, I think he's maybe thought he's went high and come down the back of his Achilles. That's the only thing I could maybe. We're all slotting Willie Collum and he got it wrong, but that's the only thing I could maybe say in his defence. The angle he was at, he's maybe thought he's stood in his Achilles. The referees don't get a second look.
Yeah.
And my first thought was I thought it was a red card.
Well, the one thing that's a bonus is he will indeed get a second look when VAR comes in. He'll be advised to go and have a look at it. So Morelos sent off now against Aberdeen 3 times. He sent off against Ufa, sent off twice against Celtic, Motherwell and Hibs. So clearly, at this moment, it's not looking good for Alfredo Morelos endearing himself to the Rangers support. And what a huge week, Robbie, for Rangers.
Yeah, it certainly is. Obviously, they'll go into the game, they'll try and put everything in the Hibs game out the road, and deal with what's coming up. And it is a massive game. As Tam said, the strength of Rangers in Europe was their defence. That hasn't been the case so far this year. So the defence really need to get their act together, because for most of the game they will be, under the cosh. You're expecting the defence and the goalkeeper to come up with the saves. But on the break, there's every chance they could score a goal, and that's what they'll be hoping for. They'll be looking at Ryan Kent to do something a wee bit special, but defensively they'll have to be a lot better than what they were.
Okay, and Marlon says Morelos' whole attitude was disgraceful. From the minute he came on, you could see he wasn't interested. Paul says VAR will destroy Scottish football.
He was lucky just before he kicked out at someone. He just come on, and you're right about his attitude, and that's a stonewall red card, because he's actually the first one. The guy spoke about it after the game. You feel it as a striker, you feel the defender. He said, I feel he knew he was there, and then the second one he just went crack.
Yeah,
so there's absolutely no defence.
Yeah, and Tam says here on our feed, Colin was very much in favour of Rangers. Hibs should complain. So there you are. Tam.
My dad feed.
No, just Tam has just another couple of Celtic crisps and then another wee drink of Kestrel. Anyway, apart from anything else, Tam, you brought a smile to my face here. And it brings us nicely to our quiz question for today. See if you can answer this one. Fairly straightforward with the red cards. How many red cards were shown this weekend in the Scottish Premiership? If you think you know, give us the answer for that. That's the quiz question. Discipline the key here, because we move on to Celtic against Hearts 2-0. If there was good goals, we were incident in the second half of the Hibs Rangers game. At times, it didn't quite live up to the billing. Celtic against Hearts, did it, Tam?
No, I think that they didn't quite hit their stride. I think it was a kind of bitty game, and Hearts made it that way. That's what they wanted it. They didn't want Celtic getting to full flow. They stayed in the game at 1-0.
Do you think they maybe just thought to themselves, listen, Celtic's not that important to us, it's the big one this week?
Yeah, well, you look at the team they put out. The rest of all the top players.
Yeah.
Gordon, Mackay, who else was it? Shankland.
Yeah.
So the rest of the top players. And
I thought Craig Levine looked a bit sluggish in the back.
They were bringing people out for the under-18s, I think, just to fill the team. But listen, they stayed in the game. It was a game, as you said, that the game on Thursday is much more important to Hearts. It was a game nobody would expect them to get any points. They didn't get disgraced. I thought the referee got the calls right. The red cards that we'll probably speak about. Celtic just didn't hit top gear, but again Kyogo and Giacomakis, we spoke about it last week, to bring Kyogo off after an hour and put Giacomakis on is brilliant. It's great firepower for Celtic to have, and both of them are banging goals in and really pushing to be the number one striker.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about him. He's not in any way fazed by taking somebody off, but he's using more often than not now the full squad.
I think it's interesting. I think you spoke about Alfredo Morelos coming off the bench, and his body language, I think, and his attitude looking all over the place. I think the converse is when you look at Giacomakis. I think he comes on and you sense he's itching to score. I think you can see that he's on, he's bursting a gut, he's thinking, I want to take the chance when I get it, I want to mark the appearance with a goal. I think you can sense he has a hunger about him when he comes onto the pitch. I think he offers something different. But I would agree with you, I think Celtic look as though they have a bit of depth at the minute. I don't think they look as though they've hit their stride yet this season. I think it's looked a bit pedestrian at times. I think the second half there was a bit of an edginess about it until the latter stages, and then obviously a second goal just at the death to seal it.
Yeah, and Ange Postecoglou, I think from the post-match comments, certainly Celtic fans will be excited by the fact that he's looking to add a couple of new faces.
We can't stand still, and we're still building. I mean, every now and then I'll glance at the diary, and I'll just go back 12 months, and even if you go 12 months back from today, you're going to have a very, very different picture of what our football club looked like. So we've made a hell of a lot of progress, but we're still at the beginning. I'm still building a team, building a game style, building an environment. So there's still work to be done.
And Celtic fans certainly getting excited. Sead Haksabanovic is the man that's hotly tipped to be the first of any additional signings to come in, Ruffy. So you can see he's looking at the attacking options as well. It looks as if he's, plan A, attack, plan B, attack quicker.
Yeah, as you were saying there, he's not frightened, to take 3 off. I think it was Tam that touched on last week. That 5 substitutions has just fell right into the lap of Rangers and Celtic. They've got so much quality on the bench. He's not worried in the 55th minute. You take 3 players off and put 3 on. you know, because he knows they're fresh and he knows that the hunger is there. You know, I agree with Ali, they never hit any heights at all, but they still had more shots at goal. Their goalkeeper did more saves than the Celtic goalkeeper, so they're still well on top. At 1-0, it's always a wee bit nervy, but they got the second goal. But no, I think a lot of the fans I was talking to say they're a bit disappointed, because that's the level that Celtic's at, and if they come down, you know, you're still winning games, but it's not as exciting as what it is some other days.
Yeah, well, I must admit I was slightly surprised at the tail end of it when Hearts ended up with 9 men on the park, and I tell you, Robbie Neilson, the Hearts was far from happy.
You know, when you come here, you need strong referees, and you know, if you don't get that, then it can be difficult at times. You know, we made 11 fouls, get 2 red cards, and 5 bookings. Celtic made 12 fouls and they get nothing. You know, so. That's the difficulty when you come to Glasgow, that you need that strength, and I don't think we had it today.
Yeah, once a strong referee, he had a real pop at the referee for his decisions. Some have suggested that the referee should have been maybe a little more lenient, but what do you want? Do you want the rules applied or not? Yeah,
I think that's always quite an odd argument, the leniency given the timing of the game and when the foul takes place. I think he had no option. I think given the bookings that had gone before it and the timing of it, I just think the timing's irrelevant. I think it was 2 red cards.
Yeah, there were little flashes that I thought Hearts, you know, put together some good passing moves, but I just think that their whole mindset was all about this week. It's so crucial for them. I really do fancy them to win at Tynecastle and go through.
I do as well. I think that I don't think they've got a lot to fear against that FC Zurich. I thought they were well in the game over in Switzerland, and as I said, you can just tell with the team that they put out. You know, all the focus is on this game. It could be worth up to £8 million for Hearts, which is an enormous amount of money. You know, for a team outside Celtic Rangers. So that money could, you know, transform them into really being a third force and pushing up towards the top 2. But you can tell, you know, that was the main aim. That was a game. It was a game that didn't really want, to be honest. You know, Celtic away from home in the middle of 2 huge games, but they've rested their key players, and they'll be ready to go on Thursday night at a packed Tynecastle.
Yeah, do you fancy them?
I do. I really do. I think 2-1's a really funny scoreline too to try and defend, especially at Tynecastle. I think, you know, the atmosphere that it generates, and I think it'll be a night where Hearts feel encouraged and emboldened to go for it. I think you'd love to see them go through. I think you want to have as many representatives in European competition as possible. I think it adds a whole different dimension to the season for players, for fans, for the likes of us. I think it just elevates the standard. I think it helps in attracting players to the league, to clubs. I think it can showcase the league in a very positive light, and yeah, I think they have the capability of going through, and I think they'll be encouraged by aspects of yesterday's performance at Celtic Park. I think they never really troubled Joe Hart. I think you would struggle to think of a moment where he had anything to do, but I think there was a cohesion at times, which I think was interesting given the changes that they had made, and I think they're definitely capable of going through.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Robbie, you think they'll go through?
I'm a wee bit worried about it, actually.
Oh, worried now, eh? You've kept that quiet.
I think with Halkett being out, I think they're going to reshuffle their defence. Craig Gordon would have to be in his top form. I've got a sneaky feeling they're going to get a draw.
Yeah, okay. As long as you don't get a sneaky feeling. If you get a sneaky feeling, that's fine. Now, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Here's the summary of the results. We've got more games to talk about. Here's how it all panned out in the Scottish Premiership over Saturday and Sunday. Of course, Hibs 2, Rangers 2. That's actually just the fixtures, but I can tell you it did finish Hibs 2, Rangers 2. Elsewhere in the matches overall, you had Celtic 2, Hearts 0, Ross County 1, Kilmarnock 0, Motherwell 1, Livingston 0, Dundee United 0, St Mirren 3, and St Johnstone 0, Aberdeen 1. So to the other matches, lots of them to talk about. Keep your comments coming about the Hibs Rangers match and the Celtic Hearts. We'd love to know your thoughts on it. I'll read as many of the messages out as I possibly can. Referees at the forefront of it all. Ross County 1, Kilmarnock 0, and boy oh boy, Ross County should have been down to 9 men, Ruffy. 2 assaults.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrendous, wasn't it? You could see in his eyes, actually, as he was chasing the boy. He was just trying to get into the right stride, to take him out. And
it was a kind of a Jack Nicholson look in his face,
it was sort of a, and then after he does it, he looks up as if, what have I done? Surely that's just a yellow card, and it's not what it should have been.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know what the referee saw that made him think that was a yellow card.
Well, Tom, if I was Derek McInnes, you would have had to have restrained me from jumping on the park. The both tackles were leg breakers.
Oh, the Ross Callaghan one is just ridiculous. I mean, as you said, he's lunged it right in front of the dugouts as well. And that's a stonewall red card. He's no attempt to play the ball. He actually had the cheek to get up and moan about the yellow card. It was a really, really poor tackle. And again, VAR. If they go back and look at that, he gets sent off. But yeah, eventually he did get sent off later on in the game for something.
Handball.
It was a handball in the middle of the park. But fair play to Ross County. I did say I fancied them strongly, and to win the game with 10 men really adds to the woes of Kilmarnock at the start of the season. A lot of people fancy Kilmarnock this season. You fancy them to be pushing for the top 6, but on evidence of the first 4 games, they're in a relegation battle.
Not you, Ruffy. You said from the start, didn't you?
Well, fortunately enough, we had played them, so I actually saw what was on the park, and defensively they look pretty laboured. They've taken the boy Power and the boy Donnelly, who give them a bit of steel in the midfield. There's not a lot of creativity in there, and you're relying on Lafferty up front to get goals, and he's not getting goals, so you're going to struggle.
Yeah, and Awura Edwards, I was impressed with him at Tynecastle. I think he's a tricky player. I think he'll cause defences problems. Took his goal well. Yeah, I saw him in a couple of their League Cup ties early on, and he caught the eye. I thought he looked sharp, which, given the players that they lost, and I think they had contributed to something like 90% of their goals and assists last season. I think they lost so many key players in terms of the attacking play that they had, and I think he could be a pretty significant addition. I think he looks good. He looks like a decent addition anyway. Yeah, absolutely. Ruffy, I mean, Jan the Staggy will be worried about you because you've been tipping them. Did you tip them to win at the weekend?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I had
well, there you are, Jan. It's broken now. The spell is broken.
Yeah, I was getting a wee bit worried down there at the bottom of the league, but now they're top 6 definitely.
Available for after dinners now in Dingwall?
Yeah, absolutely. Only if it's a stay over. Anyway, apart from anything else, that was a good win for Ross County and a vital 3 points that they needed at this time of the season. Motherwell under Stephen Hamill, transformation, get a goal and defeat Livingston by 1-0. But Ali, if we're talking about referees, I mean, how anybody was able to restrain David Martindale from running onto the park, I will never know. What a terrible decision. I think they'll still feel aggrieved this morning. In fact, if anyone might have wanted to put out a statement, it might have been from there. But yeah, I thought so. And then I was listening to Kevin Van Veen, who came in and spoke, kept his face straight after it, and it said it was absolutely 100% the right decision. Yeah, not for me. I think Kevin was at the noise up, by the way, but David Martindale wasn't. He just can't wait for VAR.
But watching it back, I don't think it's a pen. The quicker we get VAR into Scotland, the better, to be honest, because we're sitting here talking about 3 points for Motherwell and no points for Livingston due to what. It's a bad decision. I don't think referees are going to make bad decisions, obviously, and you go against you, but I don't think it was a hard one to get wrong. That's a disappointing aspect. Yeah, he's raging, and good to know our reporter had the microphone just up there so we could hear everything.
How small does David Martindale look in that picture?
Yeah, we need to get closer to him. But I'll tell you one thing, he kept his composure, because that's the type of game where at the end of it a manager takes a fine for just saying what he thinks.
Yeah, and looking at the stats and speaking to people, a couple of people who were at the game said it was a terrible game and it was a 0-0 written all over it. And to get that penalty kick with 20 minutes to go, and that's going to win you the game. It's going to always take something like that, a bad decision or a wonder goal, and a real sickener for Livingston. If that was one of the bigger clubs, we'd still be speaking about it just now. So really poor decision, and it's cost Livingston a point.
I wonder if Motherwell maybe, and I just get this feeling that they might need more firepower, Ali, because Van Veen, for me, I've watched him on 2 or 3 occasions. Okay, he's banging them in, and as long as he keeps doing that, fine, but I'm not sure he's going to be prolific. Yeah, I would agree. It was the same last season. I think he started quite well last season too. I think
there's an issue with consistency across the course of the campaign. I would agree with you. I think they could probably do with more attacking players. Whether or not you get them, I think good attacking players are like gold dust in the window, particularly when you're working within the parameters of a certain budget. I think it can be very difficult to source. I think Tony Watt was a big loss for them when he went up to Tannadice. I'm not sure they've ever really organised a suitable replacement for him. So I would agree with you. Whether or not it's plausible to get it in before the end of the window is another matter.
Yeah, Stephen Hamill certainly is going to look towards signing players.
But watching it back, I don't think it's a pain. The quicker we get VAR into Scotland, the better, to be honest.
No, there's no target apart from trying to do well again next week against Kilmarnock. We've already spoke about it, what we can do. Every game's difficult here. Every game's difficult. That's a good Livy team. They've started the season well. With their style, they're going to cause teams problems.
Because we're sitting here talking about.
Okay, sorry, a little bit of mix up there on the two interviews. I thought Stephen Hamill had started to sound like David Martindale. That's a rapid change.
A couple of games in charge, he'd lose twice here. Football management.
Yeah, absolutely. But nevertheless, good win for Motherwell.
Yeah, that's a good win for them on the back of going up to Aberdeen and winning last week. Back to back, two great results for Stephen and Brian Kerr. And as I say, I still think you're right. I think they need more players in. They need more quality up front. I don't think they're going to score enough goals. Robert Snodgrass is obviously the one that they're trying to get in. I think he'd be a good signing. But I think they need another striker. They need a striker with pace. I think Van Veen leads the line well, but they need somebody that can run in behind.
Yeah, talk about managers under pressure. Dundee United 0, St Mirren 3.
Yeah, I don't think anybody saw that. As bad as that, maybe a draw or something like that. But for me, it was the reaction of the Dundee United supporters behind that goal when the third one went in. They're notorious for letting their feelings be known, and it's not the first time a manager's got the wrath quite early on. I think it's far too early not to be doing that, but certainly, when the fans start walking out and all that, then you've got a problem. But he's got games that he can win, but he's got to start winning them.
Well, it's funny you saying that, because it just shows you sometimes when you get caught up in the hysteria, the build-up for European games, the 1-0 win over AZ, and suddenly they're a really good feel-good factor. Everybody's talking about Jack Ross, what he's building, the team that was there. I was impressed by Stephen Fletcher and the work rate and everything, but suddenly in the league, the big problems, and as Ruffy said, how the worm can turn.
Yeah, I sometimes think a result like that, being on the back of such a bruising defeat, of such a humiliating defeat, I sometimes think it can leave a hangover. It can leave its mark for a while. But I had looked at the fixtures last week, and you see that game on Saturday, and you think a home game against a St Mirren side who have toiled as well for the opening weeks of the campaign, went out the League Cup early. You're thinking this will be the game where they just maybe find their feet a bit. I thought they would have got the win. I didn't think it would have been at all comfortable, but I thought they would have prevailed and come through the game with the 3 points, and you think that maybe then gets them onto a solid footing again. I was stunned when I saw it had gone to 2-0. I was surprised when I saw it had gone to 3-0. I think this is not a St Mirren team that's noted for scoring a lot of goals anywhere. So to go to Tannadice and get a result like that, I think you can understand why the Dundee United fans are so aggrieved, and I think it becomes a case now of trying to settle it very, very quickly, because I don't think any team in this league or any manager can afford to always be on a downward spiral. Yeah, and if we're going to be negative towards Jack Ross, got to be positive towards Stephen Robinson. Mm-hmm. 2 or 3 weeks ago on this programme, people were wondering, is his head on the block?
No, they were. Poor start to the season, but back-to-back wins, 2 clean sheets. Great result away to Dundee United. Regardless of how poor Dundee United were, you've got to give St Mirren credit. Curtis Main gets 2 good goals, 2 great finishes, and I don't know what the goalkeeper's doing at the third goal. I think Dundee United are pushing up the park, and he gets through and scores. But 3-0 is a great result, and I think they've got a home to Hibs at the weekend. So listen, there's a chance for St Mirren to put a wee run together, and Stephen Robinson, slowly but surely, is maybe just starting to turn it around at St Mirren. Yeah, and of course the loss of Ben Siegrist, I think you can feel it at Dundee United. I think there seems to be a real lack of conviction about the goalkeeper, and I think that spreads throughout the team. They're tinkering about with them at the moment. Of course, for St Mirren, they've added to their squad. Alex Gogic has been signed, come up against his old side Hibs, and the new man doesn't feel as if he's got anything to prove to the Easter Road outfit.
No, I don't think I have to prove to anything, anyone. Like, at the end of the day, I came here, I did well in January. I think that's why the gaffer wanted me back, and that's it. It's all about opinions.
He's a no-nonsense man, Alec Gogic. I usually always just, if he's starting in a match, I always just usually just put a yellow early on, as a spread betting, because I think I might get my money back. But he's a no-nonsense man, isn't he?
That's why he's there. That's why they've taken him. They had him last year. They saw his worth to the team. He gets in about it. And if you've got somebody like that in the middle and players run about him who can play, it's always a good start. And that's why Hibs try to do that with him as well, didn't they? They try to get him, when he was there,
the enforcer
in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. Our question for today is all about discipline. How many red cards were shown in the Scottish Premiership this weekend? Give us your thoughts on that. We'll give you the answer very shortly indeed. And can I just mention this, Ali? St Mirren have asked fans for a £30 voluntary contribution to supplement the Celtic and Rangers allocation cut this season. Now that's an interesting one. They've retained all three stands for the St Mirren fans when Celtic and Rangers come calling. And a fan survey has intimated that the Saints fans would be willing to support the initiative, with the club now set to launch the scheme, which is, when you think of what's about to come in the winter, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for supporters to dig in deep. It's a huge ask, a big call.
I think so too. I think I have to say, I think there's a common sense decision to be made there. I think when you obviously want to protect your home environment when you host Celtic or Rangers, you want as many of your own supporters to get in and see the game and support you and get behind you. But I think it doesn't make any sense if you're not going to sell the full allocation of seats. I think, for Kilmarnock and Dingwall and Easter, wherever you go, Celtic and Rangers will sell it out. And I think it makes sense to take the money. I think for me, it's an economic decision. I think you want to give your own support the opportunity to maximise the chance to go along to the game. If there are extra seats and the allocations aren't taken up, I think you sell those seats.
Yeah, interesting one. St Johnstone 0, Aberdeen 1. Just one solitary strike. If you're going to win a game, you might as well win it with a wonder strike. Leighton Clarkson, what a goal.
That's two now. He's scored two screamers for Aberdeen, and in a tight game, it's always going to take a wee bit of quality. St Johnstone, had a couple of chances. Jamie Murphy was unlucky late on with an effort, but a goal fit to win any game. Free kick, very similar to the boy Madison scoring against Rangers at Pittodrie a few years ago. And if he can go on as half a career, as good a career as him, he'll be doing well. But as I said, he's a good player up loan from Liverpool, and he is Clarkson starting to hit top gear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a while. He always tries to Jim in a rank rotten joke, and a big apology to everyone for that latest one from Bonzo, who just has slipped me past, Ruffy. I completely forgot all about it, but from the Ned haircut of Friday, he's now gone back to the swish over, because you would not believe the amount of people on our feed, social media, the lot, who are thinking, what is happening with McManus's hair? It was laughable on Friday.
Yeah, it was. I thought he would just rush to get in. He'd been in the golf course and obviously get wet and didn't have enough time. But no, I thought he tried it out.
Yeah,
tried it out to see if anybody liked it.
Did you see it, Ali, on Friday? Because I know you obviously were a bit emotional because it reminded you of the discos where the guy had made the long walk over from the other end of the dance floor, and you just said no. That's what he looked like, didn't he?
I think H from Steps is my favourite.
It was a belter. Anyway, great goal from Clarkson. But Jim Goodwin reckons there's more to come from him.
He's a quality player. Technically we know exactly what we're going to get. Physically he needs to bulk up a wee bit if he's going to go back to Liverpool and play in the English Premier League. But technically he's absolutely fantastic. He's very brave on the ball. He'll take it in tight areas. He's always looking to play forward, which is something we want from our midfielders and our attacking players. More forward runs, more forward passes. But yeah, that free kick is just a real bit of quality.
Yeah, and Ali wanted to make sure she'd got the microphone and the camera as close to...
It's a fairly good angle, that. His nostrils there.
There are reasons for that.
Ali, you did well, by the way. And now you know how difficult it is for the broadcast against the written journalists when you have to jockey for a position. But that I am assured, was Jim Goodwin. As far as St Johnstone, again, another one of those results that goes against them. Callum Davison, quick to point out that if you're going to lose a game, it's got to be a special goal like that seals it.
Teams are set by a wonder free kick. What a strike it was unbelievable. And then when that happened, I thought they were able to sit in. The numbers make it difficult for us to break them down. Then obviously they've got loads of bags of pace up front to catch the counter. Probably for us didn't do enough. 1-0 down, try to change the system, get more bodies forward. Again, just thought we weren't quite good enough to get the equaliser.
Yeah, not so much worrying times for St Johnstone just yet. Everybody's jockeying about for positions in this first quarter, and I think it'll swing one way then the other with regards to the managers. Interestingly enough, Ruffy, they've already got odds out on who's ready for the chop from managers, but it's early days. It'll change right, left and centre, won't it?
Yeah, it's far too early for me. I think maybe second phase of the season, if you're down at the bottom, depending what team you are, what the demands are. I mean, let's take Dundee United. If they're after the next set of games and they're down there, I think he would be a favourite. Yeah, okay, let's have a look at the table to see where your team is situated from 1 to 12. Celtic with a 2-point advantage now after 4 games. Rangers and then Motherwell tucked in behind them. Hearts in 4th position, and all the way down at the bottom there, Dundee United and Kilmarnock with St Johnstone, Ross County above them. It's going to be tight in there, and that's how the Cinch Premiership table looks. I had St Johnstone to get relegated. Who did you have? Sorry for anyone who's just looking at various tables.
I went for St Johnstone as well. I just don't think they've got enough goals in them, and they need to sign a striker before the window closes. Don't think they score enough goals. St Johnstone for me.
Yeah.
Kilmarnock.
You sticking with them?
Yeah, I'm sticking with them because they're not scoring goals and they're losing an awful lot.
Who did you have, Ali?
I think St Johnstone.
Yeah. Okay, what about the Predictor League? Because it's something that, of course, everybody likes to pay particular attention to week in, week out. And I've nicknamed you Leicester City, Ali, because I feel as if your best days are well and truly behind you.
It is early days, I think, just hodge your wish just now.
Yeah, 17 points is a great weekend for me, Tam. The Predictor League, 48 for me, out in the number 1 position. You're tucked in 44. Then it's Ruffy in 41. Alison, mid-table looking downwards for as far as I'm concerned, with Tam Cowan on 37 as well. And then Hugh on 23. Who actually picked up a couple of points for predicting Rangers for a draw for the 19th week on the trot.
Well, of averages you're going to be right once, but you're out on top. But I'm 25 points ahead of the bottom, which is all I'm concentrating on.
It's the only thing you care about, isn't it?
That is.
You just don't want to shell out money, and we're still waiting for Cowan to get us out for that meal, Ruffy. It's coming sooner or later.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I think he's determined to get it out the road.
Yep, absolutely. And Craig Campbell's got a tear in his eye because he says, "Yep, Ali, hodge your wish." My auntie used to say that, so you've brought back a lot of memories there for Craig as well. And later on, if you stick with us until 5, Ali will also say, "Gonna geese a sluggy or ginger." So there you are, Ruffy. She's gonna roll them all out. It's going to be fantastic. All the stuff that Ali's mum used to say to her is coming out one by one. Anyway, that's the Predictor table. Got to mention a couple of things from the Premier League, because a lot of Rangers fans pointed it out, and I think they were right to point it out about the Lundstrom challenge. I mean, it was just a fabulous game. Here's the results from the weekend in the English Premier League. And as you can see there, Tottenham Hotspur defeated Wolves by a 0-0. Crystal Palace 3-1 against Aston Villa. Steven Gerrard under pressure. Everton 1, Nottingham Forest 1, Fulham 3, Brentford 2, Leicester 1, Southampton 2, maybe even Brendan Rodgers under pressure. Bournemouth 0, Arsenal 3, Leeds United 3, Chelsea 1, West Ham 0, Brighton 2, I can't believe that, and Newcastle 3, Man City 3. What a game it was, Ruffy.
It was fantastic. I only caught the second half of it. And it was good to watch. Great to see these players, at the top of their game, and fantastic goals as well, and all credit to Newcastle. I know they're rebuilding, and he hasn't really, you're going to criticise me, he's not spent that much compared to the other top noises.
Yeah.
He's not went out and bought £100 million players.
No.
He's actually went and identified players that he knows it can be part of his team. And I think he's still growing, and if they do, the owners do get the idea that, well, we could maybe be a top 4 team here, then I think you might see the cash getting splashed.
Yeah, well, to be fair, he inherited a great player in St Maximin. He's just been an absolute joy to watch. He's one of those guys that, like David Ginola was under Keegan, that you just love to pay to see him play.
Yeah, I think that Newcastle fans would have been entertained. You know, I think one of the best seasons they had was the Kevin Keegan one with Asprilla and Ginola and Keith Gillespie and guys like that, and they used to get beat 4-3 every game or win 4-3. But Newcastle fans would have been entertained, and he's certainly an entertainer.
Yeah, and of course Man City 3-1 down. Even when I looked at the clock, I thought they could come back and win this. And I think Pep Guardiola was well happy that his team showed fighting qualities.
Listen, the mentality is always there. So today we lose the game, we don't have mentality. These guys like what we have done last year, they are not competitors, they are mentality because like we scored 2 goals, they show the mentality. Mentality is there. I see them every day, how they train, how they compete today in a difficult stadium.
Yeah, fabulous game, that one. Of all the other results that are out there, I mean, Chelsea to get thumped with Leeds, Robbie, I mean, that was outrageous, wasn't it? It was a great game.
It certainly was, you know. That.
What about the goalie?
The man, I mean, some of them get away with murder and some of them don't.
Would you have been okay with a pass? I think you would have been okay with a pass back. You were good with the ball at your feet.
Put it in my left side.
Oh, exactly.
I couldn't have kicked the ball more than 20 yards with my right.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And if I tried to get right, I probably fell down or something.
Yeah, but that's your players. Players know a keeper and what is his strong side. So.
Yeah, well, it wasn't way back then. It wasn't. It didn't have to be part of your makeup.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't have to. That's why I admire. I mean, everybody just takes it for granted now when a ball gets passed back, the goalkeeper's just going to put his foot through it. It's very, very difficult. It's a difficult technique to do, so well done to most of them that master it.
Yeah, I did mention there that Aston Villa scoreline. Villa have just 1 win from their opening 3 games, and here is the sack race that they've already put together down south for managers. Some Villa fans calling for Steven Gerrard to go. Brendan Rodgers 6-4, Frank Lampard 9-2, Ralph Hasenhüttl 11-2, Eric Ten Hag 6-1, Gerrard 6-1. What do you make of that, Alison?
Yeah, I think they are under pressure. I think both Brendan Rodgers and Steven Gerrard under pressure. I think maybe need a good couple of weeks, maybe just need a few wins. I think it goes back to last season too and how the campaigns ended and then carrying on again. They've obviously got a couple of weeks yet before the window closes. It'll be interesting to see if any of them do any decent business before the end.
Yeah, Jock says, my money's on Gerrard sacked at Christmas. Ian Docherty says, Ruffy would have belted that one into Rose Ed. You probably would have, Ruffy, because that would have been the sensible thing to do, to be perfectly honest with you. Gallant says, Gerrard is better at home as away record. He's on a sugary peg. So there you have it. There's lots of managers who will be wondering if they can suddenly turn things around. Frank Lampard especially has got a very, very difficult job there at Everton. So lots of great talking points there. The answer to our quiz, fairly straightforward stuff. It was how many cards, Tam, in the Premiership this weekend?
Red cards.
Red
I'll
cards.
go for 5.
Ruffy?
I'd have went for 5.
Yeah,
5.
Yeah, 6 red cards shown over the
Just
weekend.
Me, Ruffy, no idea what we're talking about.
Well, 2 at Hibs, 2 at Celtic, and 1 up in Ross County. What was the other one?
That was one. That was one.
Yeah, there was another one.
Livingston.
Yeah, that was the Livingston one. Thanks for that, Tam. 6. So anyway, if you
watch again.
If you got 6, absolutely fantastic. Well done. Will you be watching the game tonight, Robbie? Because I'll be glued to it. Because I think, just as a sideshow and a balanced view on it, I think Liverpool are going to go to Old Trafford and absolutely spank Manchester United.
The first thing I have to really ask you is what time's the kick-off?
Why?
1 o'clock.
Because the first night of Game of Thrones.
Dearie me. Is that where we are?
Watch Game of Thrones anytime.
Watch the football anytime. It's the first episode.
Yeah, Ruffy.
First episode of the new series. Come on.
Ruffy, live. No wonder you're shaking your head, Ali.
I know why he likes Game of Thrones.
Yeah, absolutely. Alison?
Dragons.
Great game.
Yes. I agree with you. I think Liverpool will win, and I think they'll win comfortably.
Yeah, I mean, this could be.
I think this is the night where Man United turn it around, and I think.
What?
Yep, I think they'll turn it around and they'll get a point off of Liverpool.
Wow, that's a big call from you, Tam. I can't wait to get back on that with you because I just cannot see that happening.
Bonus points tonight in the Predictor.
No,
maybe even a win.
Bonus points. You weren't too keen in bonus points last season, were you?
How many points Liverpool got in the league?
2.
So
if Man United win, they go above Liverpool, is that right?
Yeah, but it's nothing to worry about.
Both basically in a relegation battle.
Yeah, Steve McNeil says 3-0 Liverpool. And Marlon says, I predict it'll be the usual snooze, 0-0 with an 89th minute tap in. Overrated. He's not. He's not. I'm going to. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go Manchester United. Manchester United 1, Liverpool 4.
Ooh.
What about yourself, Ali?
3-1 Liverpool.
3-1 Liverpool.
Is it Man United?
It's at Old Trafford.
2-1 Liverpool.
I'll go for Man United to get a point.
Yeah,
a balanced point.
A balanced one, okay. Gregor Stevens says, a balanced view, Peter, you're a Liverpool fan. Well, I will offer you a balanced view. Man United are ranked rotten, Ruffy.
Oh, and the evidence that we've saw, they're ranked rotten, but they've got quality players in there. I don't know if the manager, this is a test for him to try and produce something for these
leave Ronaldo in the stand, guys. Don't play him, doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, well, that's a big call as well. The other thing I was going to say to you is I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, Ruffy, because yourself, Hugh McDonald, and our special guest on the Tuesday will be David Martindale, who's coming in to have a wee natter with us. I'm really looking forward to David getting a wee insight. I mean, I'm going to obviously have to restrain him when we're talking about referees, you know, and we've got the bleeper out just in case he decides to go through an honesty phase with it. But
I think we all have an idea of a manager we want to listen to after a game.
Yeah.
And then he certainly falls into that category, says it as he sees it.
Are you going to be honest enough and tell us, will you tell him or will I, that I had tipped him for relegation last season? Are we going to be honest and up front with him, or are we going to try and be all lovey-dovey with it?
No, you'll just get the same as everybody else.
You'll bottle it.
Oh,
David, you get such a great team.
Top 6 last year.
Did you?
David, yeah, top 6. That's he had you relegated.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to it. David Martindale, the Livingston manager, is coming in as our guest, barring, of course, anything that kind of a sidetracks him, but with a bit of luck, he'll be sitting in here and we'll get a great insight into his team, what he's doing, his observations of Scottish football and other things. I'm not going to tell him that I think plastic pitches are an absolute nightmare.
Slaughter's Park every week.
Slaughter's Park every week as well.
Could be David, your pitch is alright.
Yeah, it might be one of those excruciatingly painful days. Nicky Twig says, Peter, can't wait. David is brilliant. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to speaking to him. Just before we go, guys, a big week, huge week, Ali. Rangers, I think, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think it's going to be a real tall order. And I think they've blown their chance to take PSV out of the equation. I would love to be proved completely and utterly wrong in midweek in the return leg.
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree with you. I think obviously too we all know that PSV had their feet up this weekend and Rangers have come through a fairly tough 90 minutes at Easter Road. You wonder what kind of effect that has too, but I think they've given themselves too much to do. I think PSV might be quite the handful at home. Again, like you, I'd like to be proven wrong. I think it's great for Scottish football if you have 2 representatives in Champions League. I think it could be a huge thing for Scottish football, but I don't know if... I think you'll need to see something special if they're to go through.
Hugh Scott says, Peter, I'm ready for all of you to tip PSV this week. Always prefer it when that happens. And I think Hugh, like many a Rangers fan, is looking and saying, yep.
Rangers for me, certainty.
Yeah?
Yeah, Rangers will get through. Yeah.
Okay, there you are, Hugh.
Rangers for me as well.
Are you going Rangers as well? So there you are.
Because of you.
So Hugh will be raging with you, but Hugh, nevertheless, there you are. Hugh, you get two Rangers, which we never thought was going to. And Tam, you're just a muppet trying to wind me up, says Hugh. So there you are. He hasn't decided to bite, but nevertheless, if that's PSV Rangers, then I understand the loss of Halkett, but I still think in front of all those fans it could be a real bumper night.
Fancy Hearts. I do fancy Hearts. I think that the Tynecastle, difficult place to go and play. I think they'll be under pressure right for the kick-off, and I think Hearts will go through.
I fancy Hearts to go through.
Yeah,
I fancy Hearts, but I really hope they can handle the pressure, because we keep talking about £7 and £8 million. They've not been there before. They've never had that pressure on their back. So I really hope they can overcome that.
You fancy them?
Yes.
Yep, okay. So it's a clean sweep for us all. We're all going for Hearts to win through. 2 Rangers and 2 who think maybe PSV will just edge Rangers out of the group stages of the Champions League. But listen, it's all about opinions. You'll get them on this programme. Hit the subscribe button, join the football family. There's thousands and thousands of people sharing it with their friends. Hopefully you can do that. Hit the bell as well, and you'll get all the notifications of all the other content we have, especially at the weekend when you're getting match reports from all the key games and updates as well across all our social media. And there's a really good TikTok coming this week on PLZ Soccer's TikTok as well, so look out for that. We've got a competition. We're going to be giving away a couple of goodies this week that I think you will be interested in. Can I just say before we go, Ruffy, well done to your side, Partick Thistle. What a really good game on Friday night. I thoroughly enjoyed the performance of Thistle.
Yeah, played well. I think anything like that can happen in that division. You know, you either have a good night or a bad night, but certainly we had a really good night. Alison was there. Tiffany was back to what he should be doing. You know, his confidence is back, and Brian Graham's goal scoring record is superb.
Yeah, absolutely superb. It was one of those nights where I was waiting for them to play really, really well, dominate the entire game, and then get battered. But it didn't materialise, Ali. They were good.
They were well worth it.
Yeah,
they were well worth it.
Yeah,
I fancy Thistle strongly to win the championship this year.
Yeah. Oh, there you are. There's the kiss of death for you. So, yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks very much to everyone for all their messages about referees. Listen, it's about opinions, and over and above that, your thoughts on all the other issues surrounding Scottish football and beyond. We really do value the majority of people who come on our feed, on the YouTube feed, certainly have got football at the heart of their mind, and the points that have been put across there, we certainly enjoy them. And just at that, I have to say that somebody has used profanities right at the last minute there, so there you are, we might as well ban them. Try and keep your points clean as ever, because it's people who love their football club that come on and talk football here. From Ruffy, from Alison, from Tam, and from myself, Peter Martin. Don't forget, David Martindale, the Livingston boss, is our special guest tomorrow on the programme at 4. We'll see you then.